Hi, this is Kevin C. Mason from Jack Monkey Games, and today we're going to talk about how to kill your NPCs. So today we're going to talk about how to kill NPCs. Now, at the very end, I'm going to give some tips on how to make these deaths more valuable to both the players and the GM. So before we get started, we're going to talk about the different kinds of NPC deaths. So, the three different kinds is this guy, which is the redshirt. They die every episode, but you have no emotional attachment to them. We've got this guy right here, where there's some attachment to them, but they're not a major character. Okay, you know their name, you kind of go, oh, they died, but it's not life-altering. And then you've got this guy. This is when a major character dies. And there's a reason to do each one of those. Now, with the redshirts, the thing is with redshirts is that this is a situation where the character has just recently been introduced. The party hasn't established any attachment to the character whatsoever. It could be, this is really useful for showing as a GM that, oh, this is dangerous. Okay, that's how it's used in TV, is, oh, look, this is a dangerous situation. Or it can also be used to guide the party into, oh, look, we need to investigate this death. This is a perfect situation for adding a few of these around into the party. You have to introduce them earlier on in the session, otherwise it doesn't mean anything. Even less than the fact it's a red shirt. Let's say your party's going over a mountain and they need to hire a few porters to carry their stuff. Okay, a great way of using this is to, have a round campfire, and then maybe there's a monster around that you want to show that is, pretty nasty. Have that monster chew on a few of these porters first. That shows danger, at the same time doesn't put you in direct conflict with that monster just yet. It can be used to add some suspense. The advantage of using a red shirt is that it requires no stats. You don't need to know anything about them. You just say they're dead and boom, they're done. The disadvantage of using a red shirt is that it's really hard to motivate the party in that direction. So it might be a situation where if there's a death of a red shirt, it's quite possible, and I've seen this a few in my games, where the party isn't paying attention. After all, there's gold and there's another mystery to handle, and it may not be enough to guide that party in the direction you want. Okay, so now let's talk about this guy. Now, Boba Fett was never a major character. He was important enough that you knew his name. He was introduced a session before. Okay, so a good example of this would be like the innkeeper. Okay, the innkeeper, the party has met a couple times, maybe they get a couple free drinks, they may have done one mission for them, but there's not an emotional attachment. The advantages of doing this is that you are going to motivate the players to do something. Okay, when they find out that the innkeeper that they've been talking to for 5 games has died, they are going to be motivated. They are going to move in a direction to solve this. It's a little bit more difficult to work with because you do have to build a little bit about that character first. The disadvantage is that you are killing possible plot lines if some of the characters are actually developing some relationship with that character. So you've got to think about that first. Okay, and now we're going to talk about this guy. Okay, when Wash died, I don't know anyone who wasn't like, oh my god. It is one of those deaths that you really feel. Now, you got to be careful with these, okay? Good NPCs take a lot of effort to create. Killing off one of these characters should be left for a major event. It shouldn't be a trivial death. It should mean something. Something to be careful of is that if you kill a character like this, to show that the monster is tough, when it's a minion monster, not the big evil man, they're going to go after the monster. They're not going to go after the big villain. Okay, that's only going to be a final situation. So it is going to derail if you're not careful. We all enjoy a good story, and Roll vs. Roll helps with that. With 40 cards specifically designed to help the players come up with their own story and make the game more exciting, while the GM is focusing on the rules. Go to jackmonkeygames.com. Okay, so as I promised, here are some tips on NPC deaths to make it have a little bit more impact. Okay, so one of the things that I do is that I actually create a whole bunch of minor characters that are really redshirts. So I've got a campaign coming up where there's going to be a lot of deaths. And what I've done is I've actually created a bunch of minor characters that will die. I'm introducing them 2 to 3 games ahead of time. And I'm deliberately going through the process of making sure that the characters interact with these NPCs so they establish those connections. So when they die, it's really felt. Without giving away any spoilers, there's going to be a situation where there's going to be a kind of a reporter in this in this campaign, and what's going to happen is that this reporter is going to be very useful. They're going to go and provide some major information that's going to help the players. They're going to be likable. I'm actually going to go and try to establish those connections between a couple of the characters. And when that happens, in about 3 or 4 games, I'm going to kill off that character. And it's going to be a violent, horrible death. And when that happens, that is going to basically catapult the campaign into the direction that I want. The trick is that when you do something like this, understand that it does require a bit of forethought.